What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast, and I am your host, Recher. Hope everybody is having a wonderful holiday season with their family. It is our final show of 2024, and it is a big one. The top 20 sports stars of Tampa Bay here in 2024. This is the seventh time doing this, and I've polled over 30 media members in the Tampa Bay area, so we will reveal them today. Who do you think is going to take the number one spot? Feel free to leave that right there on the bottom of the screen. We're very interactive here on the Recher podcast. Make sure you follow me on all follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere, and I hope that you will follow me along this journey. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Man, there's subscribers over 500. We are rolling down the road, and I cannot thank you all enough for the love and the support for everything. We'll also talk some college football playoffs, some Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the big upset for USF over Duke on Saturday, and one of the best things I saw all weekend there in Orlando at the PNC Championships. We'll also have some special guests as well on the program. We always have that. We always have people call in, chime in for the top 20 sports stars of Tampa Bay in 2024. A big shout out to our guy, Bart Hill. So feel free to come on in, join in on the conversation as we reveal the list starting at about 12:10 today. Merry Christmas, Coach Pyle. Love you, man. And I am here at the Recher Riviera. If you remember from the Ron and Ian days, Ronnie D and Ian used to bust my chops all the time about my folks living on Long Island and living on the Recher Riviera. So I am here in the basement right now. I actually used to live in this basement many years ago once it was finished. Really, really good stuff. And it's kind of, I got a couple of keyboards over here, some old school DVDs. We got old school Walt Disney VHS tapes over here, and a bunch of angry nieces and nephews upstairs, because while I'm doing the show down here for about 2 hours, they're up there and they can't come down here and play. So sorry to the little ones up there. Hopefully they're behaving for my mom and dad. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas from me, my girlfriend Steph, and the entire Recher family. We hope everybody's going to have a happy, healthy holidays. Listen, it's such a great time of year to be able to spend time with your family. But yesterday was probably one of the worst days when it comes to sports in my entire lifetime. We wake up early, Manchester United lost. All the New York teams that were on yesterday lost as well that we were watching here. The Rangers lost, the Giants lost, the Jets lost, the Lightning lost, and then the Buccaneers lose that game to the Dallas Cowboys last night. And just watching that contest, it happened again. The primetime Buccaneers continuously come up short. And whatever warts this team has, it doesn't matter if the opponent's a Super Bowl contender. It doesn't matter if a team get mathematically knocked out of the playoffs like the Dallas Cowboys did yesterday. The Buccaneers are just not going to play their best game. I don't know the rhyme or reason. I know the Buccaneers have made adjustments to make it different, but the outcome just continuously is underwhelming, and the Buccaneers now have to look at the Atlanta Falcons and hope that they lose one of their next two games, and the Buccaneers could win their final two games in order for Tampa Bay to make the playoffs once again. You give the direction of your season, you let somebody else control your destiny, and that's the worst thing that could happen for the Bucs. And for all the talk about Todd Bowles, and again, we see people, if the Buccaneers lose out, that means that Todd's going to lose his job. Not necessarily. Once again, he's the low-hanging fruit out of this entire thing, which is asinine to me, once again. Okay, could you say that he probably shouldn't have taken a timeout at the end of the first half? Okay. But in Todd's words, he thought his team needed it. He gets paid the big bucks. He's the head coach for a reason. But this loss falls directly on the players. Todd Bowles isn't dropping that pass like Sterling Shepard did. Todd Bowles isn't getting deep enough in coverage like J.J. Russell. He dropped an interception as well. Todd Bowles isn't missing tackles out there. So sometimes even the most fervent of Buccaneers fans has to point the finger on the players. They have to do better. Rachaad White fumbling that ball at the end of the game, that's on Rachaad. Got to hold on to the football. Jalen McMillan, who I thought had a pretty good game, getting just out-muscled for that interception. That's on him. You got to be better. You have to take onus for the mistakes. And Todd Bowles is not going to throw his team under the bus. That's why he's one of the most respected coaches and leaders in the game. But at what point do the Bucs fans look out and say, hey, this one's on the players? Baker Mayfield, got to throw the football away at times. The team has to perform better. The team, the players that are going out there. There's only so much the coaches can do. I understand that. I understand that Todd Bowles has his shortcomings. I understand that the coaches need to put their players in a position to succeed. But at what point do we start looking at some of these players and go, got to be better? Jamel Dean and Zion McCollum both getting burned over the top by CeeDee Lamb early in that game. That's Todd Bowles' fault. Lavonte David struggling, going back in coverage. We understand what Lavonte brings to the table, his leadership, right? Second on the team in tackles once again, a week after being number one on the team in tackles in that game against the LA Chargers. But he's got to play better, right? We got to get better. The team's got to do a better job of getting to the passer. The outside pass rush, once again, I mean, you're banking on Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey and those guys coming up with big plays. You need to see more. I'd love to see a 2 or 3 sack game from a Chris Braswell or Yaya Diaby or Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, anybody. This one, to me, falls on the players. They did not step up. The lights were the brightest. Sunday night, Jerry World, all eyes of the football world were on you, and you came up short. Now, you're hoping that the Washington Commanders, because I think that's the most likely way that the Buccaneers will be able to make the playoffs if they take care of business to win those last 2 games, which is no guarantee. You see how tough Carolina is playing for Dave Canales, and you never know with the New Orleans Saints. Now it's out of the Buccaneers' hands. And to me, their best chance of being able to make the playoffs, win those last 2 games, and the Washington Commanders next Sunday night taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Another NFC East, NFC South matchup on Sunday Night Football. You saw that with the Buccaneers and Dallas Cowboys last night. You're going to see it again next week with the Washington Commanders taking on the Atlanta Falcons. And everybody in the Tampa Bay area is going to be rooting for Jaden Daniels, Dan Quinn, and the Commanders. An incredible win that they had over the Philadelphia Eagles yesterday, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. But now the Buccaneers need help. And there are some good things with this team. Love what you saw from Bucky Irving. You have to love the fight from a guy like Baker Mayfield. Vita Vea making that tackle on Jake Ferguson in open space to give the Buccaneers an opportunity to get the football back. What a play. What a play from Vita Vea. And my girlfriend was asking me last night, like, what makes him so successful when it comes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? He's an occupier. He occupies space. He occupies defenders. But when Todd Bowles puts him in a position to, all right, lap around over there, go to the outside, make a play in space, who else is doing that in the NFL? Who else is taking their Pro Bowl D tackle and getting him away from the line of scrimmage and enabling him to be able to make a play in space like that? Nobody else has the balls to do that. Todd Bowles, that's one of the staples of his defense. He was able to do that. So for all the people that want to rag on Todd Bowles for the job that he doesn't do, there's certain situations last night where, okay, give him credit in situations like that as well. Wanted to show you guys some love for showing me love. Jacobian, frustrating game last night. Hopefully we can still get in the playoffs. That's right, Janet Best. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Same thing for Big Dummy Dan. And We the Thunder, our guys, Tampa Bay Lightning podcast. Rough one for the Bucs last night and the Bolts. Merry Christmas, Jay. Shout out to Shooter, Schoolie, and the whole crew over there. If you want to talk some Lightning hockey, make sure you check out my guys at the We the Thunder podcast. They're always having some great guests, whether it's the Eric Erlandsons, the Sonia Bryson Kirksey, Chris Dingman. I'll hop on there once they ask me again. Whenever I'm free, I'll definitely head on and talk some Lightning hockey with our guys. Unfortunately, the Bolts lose, and we got some breaking news here for the Tampa Bay Rays. Eloy Jimenez, DH, and the Tampa Bay Rays, an agreement on a minor league deal. Eloy played for the White Sox and Orioles this year and hopes to rebuild his career with a Rays team that has high aspirations in the AL East. That is from Jesse Rogers. And when you look at Eloy Jimenez, remember him primarily from his time with the White Sox. Huge dude, 6'4", 250. Last year in 2024, batted 238, 6 home runs, and 23 RBIs. When he was at his peak, He came in fourth in the Rookie of the Year standings back in 2019. He was the Silver Slugger winner in 2020 in the truncated season there. He had 14 home runs and 41 RBIs. Man, that kind of messed him up because that rookie year he hit 31 jacks, 79 RBIs. This is a power bat. Right-handed batter. He's probably not going to give you much on defense, but man, if you could put him in there at the DH spot, and you know the Rays, if they can get his value up and maybe trade him in the middle of the season, that is Rays business. Boom, right there. All right, more on that a little bit later on. We'll probably ask our guy Steve Carney about that because he's going to join us here in a little bit. All right, it is time for the 2024 Top 20 Sports Stars of Tampa Bay. Now, guys, I've been doing this for a while now, having so much fun with this, and I've been so grateful that the members of the Tampa Bay sports media have been able to chime in. This is year number 7 doing this. I still, it's amazing to me that we've been able to do this for 7 years. I started this as a producer. I wanted to just get everybody involved and just have a way to kind of show love to our Tampa Bay sports stars. And if this is the first time you've ever heard of it, it's the players, it's the coaches, it's the front office members, just finding a way to show love to our folks here in the Tampa Bay area. And hopefully one day we'll do this like a, black tie affair and we'll be able to get some of these people in attendance. But for now, it'll just be right here on the J Recher podcast. And we're going to start with number 20. And number 20 is Mr. Erik Neander. Now, when you look at the job that Erik Neander has done with the Tampa Bay Rays, as whether it's the general manager or the president of baseball operations, just an all-around good guy as well. He is the mastermind behind keeping this team competitive all of these years. Generous with his time and his insights anybody here in the Tampa Bay area. And for all the people that want to get on the Rays for the way that they do business, and for whether it's the ownership or whether it's the guys like Brian Auld or Matt Silverman, I look at the job done by Erik Neander. He's the guy when everything kind of comes down, he's got to deal with it, with all the pieces. When guys have to get traded away, he's got to be able to bring more guys up. He's got to be able to fortify the farm system. He's got to be able to delegate. And Erik Neander, if you don't talk about him when it comes to the secret sauce of the Tampa Bay Rays, you're totally missing out, because he is such a huge part of what they do. When you look at Neander, this isn't the first time he's been on the list. Again, I mentioned this is year 7 we're doing this. Last year, he was number 18. In 2022, he was number 20. 17 the year before, 13 in 2020, and then in 2019 at number 10. 2018, he was number 14. So when you look at Erik Neander, a strong start to the list here for the top 20 sports stars of Tampa Bay in 2024. He has made the list every single year. So shout out to Erik Neander coming in at number 20. Number 19. We'll stay in the front office. This got a nice little front office vibe to it, the first couple. Number 19, Julian Benitez, the architect of the Tampa Bay Lightning's recent run of success. Another Tampa Bay front office member revered around the league. A general manager who made the unpopular decision to move on from Steven Stamkos. But when you look at what JBB has done, it looks like he struck gold, bringing in Jake Gensel, trading Mikhail Sergachev. And I know Sergei has played really well for Utah, but bringing in the likes of JJ Moser, and we hope he gets well soon, and Connor Geekie, he's been able to retool on the run here to keep the Tampa Bay Lightning competitive. So Julian Benitez, if you look at the picture right there, that is from our fireside chat. Not every GM does this, but every year, Julian Benitez picks a select number of members of the Tampa Bay media to just talk, kind of on the record, off the record. He doesn't give us the keys to the castle or anything like that, but he also gives us a sneak peek, excuse me, some insight into doing what he does. And one of the things that he always articulates to us is, guys, I want to make sure that I am using every single day, all 365 days of the year, to try to make this Tampa Bay Lightning team better. And you can appreciate that. You can appreciate that he is never leaving a stone unturned. He's always trying to find a way, whether it's through the draft, free agency, or trade. I love that. I just love that he's a guy that's open-minded, and you have to give credit, like we do here, excuse me, guys, to our friends at We the Thunder. Yzerman helped build the cup teams. JBB made those huge moves, push them over the edge, and is keeping us competitive despite some tough decisions. I couldn't agree with you more with that. He is a guy that took what Steve Yzerman started and continued it all the way. I need one of these cough drops. Hold on. Give me 1 second. That's the tough part about doing these things by yourself is, there's no producer here. There's no other co-host. I don't have many guests. So if something like this happens where I get like a tickle in my throat, I'm banking on a drink. I'm banking on a cough drop. I'm banking on my mom coming down and saving the day. So you're right. Yzerman helped build the cup teams. We the Thunder. When you look at JBB, he was able to bring in Patrick Maroon. He's able to bring in Kevin Shattenkirk, make those deals at the deadline for Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman. So sometimes there's somebody that takes you there, and sometimes there's somebody that takes you over the hump. Kind of like what we saw with the Bucs with Tony Dungy and John Gruden. Same way there. Come on now. Oh, stuff's coming. Thank you. Say hello to everybody. How about now? Nothing? My guy Steve Carney just checked in. They're in there, buddy. I'm checking them. How about now? Are we back? I think we're back. Are we my guy Bart Hill? Good, we're back. Thank God. Oh my God, what the hell? Hey, that's the way it goes sometimes. Clap it up for all you guys for staying with me. And my guy Steve Carney helping out. Carney, we'll get to you in a second. Give me a second. Let's get back to this list. But shout out to my guy Julian Benitez for everything that he does with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He is in at number 19. At number 18, we'll stay with the Lightning. Owner Jeffrey Vinik, and still the best owner in sports. And you got to wonder what, if anything, is going to change now that he's decided to sell a portion of the team off. Now, I'm hearing some great things from the new owners, but man, I hope Jeff continues to be a part of the Tampa Bay community because he's made such a profound impact here, not just on the ice, but off the ice as well. To be able to see how he's able to give back to our community. He's just the man. He's the man, and we love him, and we hope that he's a part of the Tampa Bay area, not just, for the short-term future, but also the long-term as well. All right, number 17, and this was one of the most interesting names on the entire list. I was very surprised that this name was on here, and I don't know if I added him. Did I even add him? I sure as heck did. Number 17, Stu Sternberg. Now, for the first time in 7 years, Stu Sternberg has made this list. And I think this is one of those things where he's not the protagonist, he's the antagonist. Not every star is a good guy or revered. My interactions with Stu over the years have been pleasant, but it's very interesting that this is where he is on the list, that he made the list at all. Do you think Stu Sternberg deserves to be on the top 20 sports stars of Tampa Bay list? Feel free to put the question, the comment, the concern there at the bottom. And to discuss that, we're going to talk about our good pals. We're going to discuss with our good pal, Steve Carney. Carney, thanks for the audio help, first and foremost, pal. This is kind of the trigger sometimes.
Of course. My first question to you, Jay, is it cold enough there?
It is freezing here, Carney.
Yeah, for people that don't know, Jay is home in New York. So he missed last night's debacle in at Amalie Arena, though I think your sport coat showed up with Eddie Encina. He was wearing like a crushed red velvet sport coat last night.
Whoa. Everyday Eddie Encina. How about that?
Unreal.
I like that. I got to talk to him about that after the fact. Yeah, it is currently 25 degrees. It's going to get down to 11 here in Central New York. Not good at all. Steve Carney, you've contributed to the list for the last 7 years as well. Thank you so much for doing that. Stu Sternberg for the first time making this list. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think it's exactly for the reasons that you mentioned, Jay. This is the first time that Stu Sternberg is on this list because he's been such in the forefront of everybody's minds here this year. The question of, were the Rays going to finally bite the bullet and put something on paper and in writing that they were going to have a new stadium somewhere in this area. I mean, we talked about the Sale stadium from like 2007, 2008 at the Al Lang site, and then the Raybor project, of course, going by the wayside. And those were all great drawings and they were all great dreams, but we had nothing concrete for either of those. Finally, it got to the point where they needed to get something concrete done in order to stay either stay here or figure out that they're going to be playing somewhere else. And that's why Stu Sternberg, his name is out here. And you're absolutely right. He is playing the role of the black hat in being on this list. But, I think that's sometimes the way it goes.
Yeah, you got that right. And our guy, Steve Carney, joining us. You'll find him on social media at Steve Carney, Rays baseball insider for St. Pete 9, co-host of Yards and Stripes. He works with MLB, does Bolts Radio, and of course, Navy veteran. Thank you so much for your service, my good friend.
And I'm having a hot coffee in your honor for it.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. I appreciate that. I want to ask you before I let you go. Eloy Jimenez just came down right as we started the program. 28 years old. He's a hulking figure in the box. I thought he was like 6'9". I mean, the stats say he's only 6'4", but Carney, he looks like he's like 6'7", 6'8", had that incredible rookie season where he hit over 30 bombs. I mean, you could argue that 2020 year where he was a Silver Slugger winner, maybe that kind of stopped his development a little bit. He's not a guy that's going to play in the outfield, but he's a minor league contract guy. I mean, to me, this is a prime candidate of the Rays revitalizing this guy's career and then possibly moving him at the deadline. What do you think Eloy Jimenez could bring to the Rays?
Yeah, this is low risk, high reward. This is perfect Eric Neander stuff right here. He understands that, and I think Eloy understands as well. You know, he was not going to get a major league deal after the way that he has played over the last couple of years, whether you're talking about with the White Sox, with Baltimore. He's probably wishing that they weren't playing at Steinbrenner Field this year because that left field fence is out there, you know, or he wishes he hit left-handed because then things would be a lot nicer for him. But this is an opportunity to show that the hole in his swing has been closed up. There's never not going to be a hole in Eloy Jimenez's swing. That's the thing about him. He's going to swing and miss a whole lot. But if he can show that, and if the Rays can show that his hole is closed up a little bit, you're right. I think he's the type of guy that can sit around in Durham if need be for the first month or two. And then if he shows that he's crushing the baseball with the Bulls, he could end up being a guy, or maybe he starts crushing the baseball in spring training. He could certainly be a guy that can pose a question and give Eric Neander a problem, and a good problem at that, because then either you're going to put him in your lineup and he's going to start hitting, or you're going to be able to move him for pieces that you're going to be able to use to continue the building process that we're going to see over the next couple of years.
He is Steve Carney. Follow him on all social media platforms at Steve Carney, samep9.com, samep9.com, samep9.com. I don't have to say it 3 times because I never forget it.
Exactly.
Yards and Stripes. Check out that podcast. And if there's something going on in the Tampa area, Carney definitely has an opinion on it. Appreciate you, brother. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. And we'll definitely get you on the show in 2025.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Jay. And we all know that you're the number one spot in the Sports Stars.
Woo! Ian Beckles put me number 1 like 2 years ago, and I was about to frame that damn thing. Thanks, Carndog.
You should have. All right. I'll see you later. Merry Christmas.
All right, buddy. You too, pal. The one and only Steve Carney. Yeah, I mean, he's right. Eloy Jimenez, low risk, high reward move. All right, let's get back to the list. Coming in at number 16. We just talked about him. Head coach Todd Bowles of your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bowles, one of the more polarizing people that are on this list, right? We spoke about that when we started the show. Some people look at Todd and see a man that is respected around the league. They look at a guy who directed the defense to this franchise's second Super Bowl. And then the other half see a guy whose time is ticking. He's holding this team back. He's a dude that's stuck in his ways and seemingly always the guy to blame when something goes wrong with this Tampa Bay defense. So Todd Bowles, when you look at him and his time here in Tampa Bay, it's really up and down. Because I don't think he really gets the credit that he has earned at times. You know, when something goes wrong, everybody's quick to hop off. Again, I mentioned this in the beginning of the show. There's people talking about getting rid of Todd Bowles when this team has, you know, they've won multiple division titles with him at the helm. They go on a winning streak and nobody mentions like, wow, Todd Bowles has done a great job of keeping this team together, right? Or this team last week making the necessary adjustments at halftime to be able to beat Justin Herbert and the Chargers. But if they lose to Dallas, now it's all his fault. He's certainly one of the more polarizing people that we've had here in the Tampa Bay area. So that's Todd Bowles. What do you think about the job Todd has done with the Bucs? Feel free to leave your questions, comments, concerns at the bottom. What I also like to do every year is I also like to take a look at some of the people that just missed out on the list, and that is the honorable mention. These are 5 people that got votes, but they were just on the outside. One, Bobby Fink, gold medal winning swimmer from Clearwater. Last year didn't make the list, but listen, when you're able to defend your 1,500 meter gold medal at the Olympics like we just saw over the summer, we got to show love to our guy, Bobby, don't call me Brian Fink. Also, Yandy Diaz, Rays first baseman. But for how long? That's the key. Last year, coming in at number 5, and I feel like there wasn't as much love for the Rays this year when it came to the players, just because some of them are no longer here. More on that in a bit. But Yandy Diaz, Rays first baseman, number 5 last year, just an honorable mention this year. Also on the list, Junior Caminero just missed making the top 20. Rays young stud, third baseman, first year eligible for the list. He is a guy that's got to make you very excited if you're a Tampa Bay Rays fan. Michael Kelly, USF Vice President of Athletics, also an honorable mention this year. He was an honorable mention last year as well. And then the last honorable mention on the list. This list has been populated by a lot of great players over the years, but this guy right here was in the top 9 every single year until this year. And that is former captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning, Steven Stamkos. Stammer, an honorable mention this year. Last year, he was number 3. In 2022, he was number 1 on the list after the Lightning won back-to-back cups. He was number 9 in 2021, number 7 in 2020, and then number 5 and number 2 2019 and 2018. How crazy to see Steven Stamkos still. It's still weird, isn't it? It's still really funky to me that he's not on this team anymore. He's not even in the Tampa Bay area. And it looks like the Nashville Predators are playing some better hockey, but when you make this list, it kind of gives you, it's like a dose of reality. Like Stammer's not here anymore. And we'll never forget his return to Amalie Arena, and nobody does it like the Bolts. All class, the video package, the way that John Franzone and Lightning Vision put all that together, it was really, really nice. And if you were in the building last night, you know exactly what I mean. To see Steven Stamkos get all that love, all that respect, and that video package, like, it's just amazing. But again, that dose of reality that you get when you do this list, you just, it's a slap in the face. Like, man, like Stammer's not here anymore. And for a guy that has been one of the few people to be number 1 on this list in the last 7 years, he didn't even make the top 20. An honorable mention. I mean, I still means something that people here in the Bay Area remember him. And it's not like he didn't make the list at all. We also have that reveal coming up in a little bit, who didn't make the top 20 or the honorable mention. Those are some revealing names as well. But just, again, a harsh reality that there is no more Steven Stamkos here in the Tampa Bay area. All right, back to the list. Coming in at number 15. Yes, he is your manager of the Tampa Bay Rays, one Kevin Cash. And when you look at the job that Kevin Cash did this year, remarkable. And with all the injuries and all of the drama with Wander and all that stuff, he was still able to get this team to 80 and 82. So many other teams with less leadership would have tanked. Not Kevin Cash, not the Rays. He's about to embark on his 11th season as Rays manager. Time has flown, hasn't it? I mean, it's so crazy to think that he's been here. It'll be 11 seasons. 2-time manager of the year, went to 5 straight playoffs before it ended last year, and just all that he has to deal with on a daily basis. It's truly incredible that he's able to do that. I wouldn't want anybody else leading our Tampa Bay Rays. And it's kind of funny when we go through these lists, and I don't do these on purpose, but at times there's almost like a pattern. So when you saw that list, the first couple were front office guys. And listen, I don't plan it out that way. It's just when you pull the 30 people and I have them give me a list of 10, and then I rank them. Like, you know, the first that you have at number 1, I give them 10 points and all the way down to 1. And then I compile that entire list and then put it all together. But it's always cool to see the different patterns. Now, the first couple of guys were front office members. The next couple, Bowles, Cash, and then this gentleman at number 14, the one and only Joe Urso, the head coach of our UT baseball team, leading the program to their 9th national championship. One of the best coaches, one of the best human beings that you're ever going to meet. And this is what I love about doing these lists, is that you have an opportunity to see where your colleagues rank some of the guys that maybe don't make the list every year. And Joe's made the list once before at number 20. But to see him come in at number 14 over Kevin Cash, over Todd Bowles, over the front office members that have brought national or championships to our community. It means a lot. And we're going to bring in the one and only Joe Urso right now, joining us on the program live from Tampa Bay. Let's take this honorable mention thing because you ain't no honorable mention. You're the man, my good pal. Bring that camera down a little bit. We want to see your whole face. There you go.
Thanks, Jay. How we doing?
I'm good, pal. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Congratulations, number 14 on this list, Joe. I've polled over 30 members of the Tampa Bay media to be able to make this list over guys like Todd Bowles and Kevin Cash. Like, what does that mean to you to be respected by the Tampa Bay media so much to have you at this spot in the list?
No, it means a lot. I mean, obviously we know the success of all the sports franchises through Tampa Bay, and for them to choose the local Division II baseball coach right here in town, yeah, it means the world to me. And thank you very much.
Well, we love you, buddy. And just take us, if you can, real quick, just through this entire season. I mean, it never gets old. It's a unique experience with each group. But, I mean, to be able to, watch that video that we saw over at the ring ceremony a couple weeks ago, I mean, what was so special about this group and what was so special about this season?
Well, I mean, it was a group that was coming back off of getting upset the year before, and they had a chip on their shoulder from the beginning. And I've never seen a group get hot from game 1 all the way to game 60. I mean, they were just outstanding. They were a really close group, a family-oriented group. Just everything that you love about sports. They were that team first mentality. The things that made my job just so much fun to watch.
I always say that too when people ask me, like, what's the secret sauce to your program? And I always say family. And, you see it with your family always at the games and your extended family, and then Sammy's family and Jose's family and all the coaches' family, and then the alumni. Is that something that you guys look for when you're bringing players in? Is that something that you talk about as a group and to the alumni? Because you can tell if something like that's disingenuous. But you guys, when you do it, it's a real part of the fabric of your program, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, it starts at the top, from the president to the development office to my boss, Larry Murphy, athletic director. Obviously, the coaching staff with Sam Otello and Jose been consistent all these years together for 24 years. And then it's the players. It's a total buy-in. So to have them totally buy in, we preach to their families too. Hey, we want you on board. But it's really the donors have taken this program to another level. And it's just fun to watch. Each year in, year out, we try to build this family, atmosphere like no other, and it's what I'm most proud of.
So now, after you guys win, you have kids move on, you have kids graduate. How tough is it to kind of get back on the horse? Like, because now you have a new group of players, one of them being your son, JD, who went to Miami. Now he's back. You got a couple other local guys. Like, how quickly does it turn and how quickly do you just start going, all right, let's try to win number 10?
Yeah, I mean, it takes some time. You're enjoying last year still, and we got the big ring to show
for
buddy. That you helped us with first week of December. And I think right when that ring ceremony celebration is done, that for me was my sign. It's time to turn the page. Let's build another one. And now we got to get this new group, 19 new players, very talented group, another group I expect to make a championship type run, but it's about bringing those guys together with the returners and understand it's going to be a new personality to this year's group. Just because we have a lot of returners, it's not going to be the same as last year. And we'll preach that practice January 10th, day 1 for the spring. We'll start preaching what it's going to take to win it all.
And how was the way that you constructed your roster with how the draft has changed, how NIL is dealing with Division I? Like, how has constructing your roster changed, let's just say, like in the last 5 years because of the ever-changing landscape of college baseball?
Yeah, I mean, the transfer portal has actually hurt Division II baseball because now they're all going from a higher Division I to a mid-level Division I, unfortunately, and we're not getting as many calls. But we did exploit a rule this year. The 2021 JUCOs gave those kids a year back. So a lot of these kids went to the ACC, SEC, ran out of eligibility, did not get drafted, but had another year of eligibility, Division II only. And we got 12 of those. So this roster is going to be loaded with talent. It's going to be tough to manage because a lot of personalities that are used to playing every day, and it's going to be competitive.
Well, if they want to win, they better get on the train because the UT Spartans, they are not slowing down. The one and only Joe Urso, you're a great friend. You're a great coach. I love you, brother. Give my love to Julie and the boys. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and we'll get together for dinner when I get back from New York in 2025, my friend.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
You got it, pal. Thank you. The one and only Joe Urso. It just does not get better than that. We are so fortunate to be able to have one of the greatest coaches in baseball, not Division II baseball, one of the greatest coaches in baseball. I'm talking youth, I'm talking college, I'm talking pro, I'm talking big leagues. It does not matter at all. And I remember years ago talking to Joe Madden, who is good pals with our buddy Joe Urso, about Coach Urso, and he was just like, Joey's the best. That's what he just kept saying. He goes, he's the best, and he really is. And we're not just talking about him as a baseball coach, as a man, as a father, as a husband. Like, this is a guy that's a true role model, a true just Tampanian, and a guy that makes you proud to live here in the Tampa Bay area. So we love Joe Urso, and man, I hope he makes the list next year, because you know what that means? That means he probably won another national championship. Appreciate you, Joe. All right, let's keep this list going. And coming in at number 13, how about the big Swede, Victor Hedman? And when you talk about transition in life, you know, the new Lightning captain with Steven Stamkos now in Nashville, we just spoke about Stammer. You couldn't think of a better guy to don the C with Stammer now gone. Nobody batted an eye. Like, they knew that this was probably going to be the succession plan. And I remember being at the event earlier on this year at Amalie Arena, and Jon Cooper mentioned that they kind of asked the players on the team who they thought should be captain, and it was unanimous. Victor Hedman. Ryan McDonough is the assistant. Nikita Kucherov is the assistant, but the big Swede is the guy. Number 77. It doesn't look awkward that there's a C on his chest. He was built for this. He was made for this. And it just shows that when the Lightning were able to win those cups, they really had more than one captain on the team. Not taking anything away from Stamkos. You know that's not ever going to be my intention. But Victor is just that special. Like, he's that guy. And you're going to be representing Team Sweden at the upcoming Four Nations face-off. It's going to be weird to kind of see him in a different uniform. But this is a guy that has been on the list every single year. Last year, he was number 11. In 2022, he was number 9. Back in 2021, he was 15. Number 2, got as high as number 2 back in 2020. That was after they won their first cup, and I believe that was when he won the Conn Smythe. So, I mean, in my mind, one of the best trophies to win in sports, because you're not just winning. It's not like it's the World Series MVP or the NBA Finals MVP or the Super Bowl MVP where it's one game or one series. The Conn Smythe is the entire playoff. So when you win the Conn Smythe, that means like you were a badass for like a month and a half. And he was able to win that. That's why he got his high number 2 on that list back in 2020. 2019 was number 14, 2018, number 12. So one of the few people that have made this list every single year, all 7 years that we have done it. And we're glad. The big Swede is there for the Bolts. Lightning back in action tonight, 7 o'clock against the Florida Panthers after falling a little bit short yesterday. Coming in at number 12, we're going to go from one respected veteran from the Tampa Bay area to another one. Coming in at number 12, Lavonte David. Now, I know we had some struggles last night in Dallas, but look no further than last week in LA, where he led the team with 12 tackles. He had a sack and a half. I mean, last night, second on the team in tackles with 8, and he still had 2 TFLs. There was one play where he got in the backfield where I think it was Rico Dowdle, and he just went straight to the ground. He's like, I'm not messing with Lavonte David. Another guy, as consistent as they come, a true pro's pro. It kind of sucks that he's probably not going to get the love when it comes to the Hall of Fame because of the lack of Pro Bowls and the lack of all pros, but there are a few players that are more respected in the National Football League than Lavonte David. A guy that is just a joy to be able to chat with. A guy that he's tough, man. He is tough as hell. He knows what it takes to be a consummate professional. Not a very, boisterous guy, very low key, very soft spoken, but he does his speaking on the field. And it is going to be a weird day when 54 is not in the middle of that Buccaneers defense. He's been signing these 1-year deals. So we know he's closer to the end of his career than the beginning of his career. But let's just enjoy that, regardless of what happens in these next 2 games, regardless of what happens in the future. let's take some time over the next couple of weeks to really appreciate Lavonte David, because he is the model of consistency and he's been just an absolute joy to watch for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Lavonte coming in at number 12, coming in at number 11. Let's get back on the ice and go to Braden Point, number 21 in your programs, number 11 on this list. One of the first members of Team Canada selected by Jon Cooper and the crew for the Four Nations face-off. Hockey is their national sport, and think about it. Braden was one of the first guys to be able to be selected for that group. What an incredible player. He already has 22 goals and 39 points in just 27 games this year. The chemistry with Nikita Kucherov and Jake Gensel, magical. Leads the league in power play goals with 11. One of the fastest skaters in the game. One of the guys that really can do a lot in a little bit of space. And he's been a regular on this list as well. Also another guy that has made the list all 7 years. Number 11 this year. He was number 10 last year. Number 12 in 2022 and 21. Back in 2020, he was number 9. So it's kind of crazy in the last 5 years. He was number 20 back in 2019, but in 2018, he was number 9. So he's usually around that 9 to 12 spot for Braden. A guy that, again, is just a fantastic player. And when you watch him, I don't know if you realize his speed unless you go to the games. Go to a Lightning game in Amalie Arena and just watch how he moves with the puck. Because there's certain guys that when they get the puck on their stick, they end up moving slower. He, along with guys like Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon and Kale McCarr, they seem to get faster with the puck on their stick. And it is wild to see how fast that he can move on skates. So Braden Point, deservedly so, coming in at number 11 on this list here. The top 20 sports stars of Tampa Bay in 2024. If you're just joining us, we'll give you a little bit of a refresher. At number 20, Eric Neander, Rays president of baseball operations. At number 19, Julian Breezebaugh, Lightning general manager. Number 18, Lightning owner Jeffrey Vinnick. Number 17, Rays owner Stu Sternberg. A little surprising there. Number 16, Todd Bowles, Buccaneers head coach. Sticking with the coaches, Kevin Cash at number 15, Rays skipper Joe Urso, University of Tampa at number 14. Victor Hedman coming in at number 13, Lightning captain. Another veteran, solid veteran, Lavonte David at number 12, and then Braden Point coming in at number 11. Are you guys ready for the top 10? Who do you think is going to be number 1 on this list? Feel free to write it there at the bottom of the screen, wherever you're watching, whether it's on Twitter, on Facebook, or YouTube. I want to hear from you. Who do you think made number 1 on this list? It might surprise you. All right, number 10 on this list, we have to go with a guy that is having just another incredible season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tristan Wort. Last night when he rolled his ankle a couple times, it was just, I was like, oh my God, no, don't do that. Please don't do that. He's such a freaking good player. He's so good. And you just listen to how everybody talks about him. He's so legit and the best left tackle in football, in my opinion. Especially with Trent Williams not having his best year, dealing with some injuries. I think it's Tristan Wort. All-world left tackle. He's already got a Super Bowl, 3 Pro Bowls, a first-team All-Pro, a second-team All-Pro, and he's only in his 5th season. He's going to make something again this year. He had 0 penalties last year, 0 holding penalties last year. 0 in his first year at left tackle. Are you serious? He's the anchor for that Buccaneers offensive line that is just seemingly getting better and better, especially in the run game. When you can put Wort on one side, Gedeke on the other side, and then you have Bredesen, Mauk, and Graham Barton. He is just an anchor and a guy that is going to be here for a very, very long time. He has fun. You love to see the relationship with him and Baker Mayfield. So glad that he's on our side. There's a lot of teams out there that are looking for left tackles. A lot of guys that kind of cosplay as left tackles. They're not legit. He is as legit as they come. And you guys know how close I am with my good buddy Ian Beckles, Jan Beckles. And I remember having these conversations about Tristan Wort very early on. He's like, Jay, pump the brakes. Pump the brakes, man. This guy's good, but it takes a lot. These guys that come from college, they don't play that well. It takes time. Pump the brakes, everybody. Tristan was the 4th tackle taken in the draft. It don't matter. It don't matter. It's just he's that legit, and he's been good this entire time. So how great is it to have Tristan Wort manning the blind side for Baker Mayfield and whoever the quarterback will be? I'm sure it'll be Baker for a while, but Tristan has just been fantastic. He's hit the ground running, and he continues to just be an absolute freaking animal there at left tackle. He'll probably make another Pro Bowl. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't an All-Pro once again this year. Your guesses for number 1 on the list this year. Jacobian, he might not be number 1 on the list, but Mike Evans is number 1 to me. Our guy is at We the Thunder. Nikita Kucherov is the only right answer, but we are a bit biased. Who do you think is going to make number 1 on this list? Feel free to leave your comments there, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter right here on the J Recher podcast. Who will be number 1? Lord Licorice says Irving, Bucky Irving. We haven't heard Bucky Irving's name yet on this list, but will he make it? And that's the great thing about this list is sometimes that you see a guy that never made the list or wasn't even in contention hops on there. But then you see guys that make the list pretty much every year, and that's who we're going to talk about at number 9, head coach Jon Cooper, the longest tenured coach in the National Hockey League. It's interesting to see where he landed here because he's actually up 10 spots from last season. And I don't know if it's the accolades or being named the head coach of Team Canada for the 4 Nations, but the media showed Coop a lot of love this year. Well deserved. I mean, last year was number 19, this year number 9. And it's when you look back at his previous years, in 2022, he was up to number 5, number 3 back in 2021 after back-to-back cups, number 6 in 2020, an honorable mention in 2019, number 18 back in 2018. But I can't stress to you how lucky we are to have a guy like Jon Cooper here in the Tampa Bay area as the head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning. There's certain coaches that are good, X's and O's guys. There are certain tacticians. There's certain guys that are just mentally, they are the right guy for the job. They find a way to motivate their players. They find a way to put their players in a position to succeed. But I think another thing too, guys, is they can delegate really well. Whether it's a Blashill or a Zettler or a Halpern or the video coaches when it's Garlock and Nigel Kerwin, Jon Cooper knows how to put these guys in a position to succeed. He's also not afraid to make tough calls. He's not afraid to sit guys. You remember the game, what was it, 2 years ago? I want to say it was in Vancouver or Edmonton, somewhere in north. Might have been Buffalo, somewhere up north. I know that. He sat Stamkos. He sat Stamkos, Point, and Kucherov. And I remember the Lightning lost, but Killorn came back and scored a bunch of goals. But he's just not afraid to send a message. He's not doing it just for the sake of sending messages. He's doing it for the betterment of the team. And that is what his goal is the entire time. Well, I mean, not the entire time. His goal after games is to make fun of my shoes. We all know that's, Jon Cooper in a nutshell. But when you look at the job that he does on the ice with this team, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. And it is going to be great to be able to go up there and see him get inducted. 3 or 4 Stanley Cup finals for him, winning 2. I mean, the ones that they lost, I think they probably got there a little bit early when they lost to the Chicago Blackhawks. Obviously winning back-to-back, and it would have been great for them to win a third against the Colorado Avalanche, but they came up short. This is a guy that knows how to hold court after games, too. When the visiting media is in town, they always love to be able to get a tidbit from Jon Cooper, and I feel like our relationship with Jon Cooper and the local media has improved over the years as well. He's so nice to everybody. He always has time to talk and to chat and shoot the breeze. And after everything that's happened with me no longer being at DAE, he wanted to know everything. He wanted to know everything, Jon Cooper. He didn't want just a little bit. He just, he wanted to know it all. 30 minutes, I think we spoke. It was that long. It just shows you the kind of guy he is. And then he asked me the other day right before I left for New York, like, how you doing? He wanted to know about my well-being. And just that's the kind of guy that he is. So Jon Cooper coming in at number 9 on this list. We know that he's not the only representative when it comes to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and he knows that one of the biggest reasons why they've been so successful over the last decade or so is because of this gentleman right here, the big cat, Andrevasileski. After missing the first 20 games of the season last year, so great to see the big cat at Media Day this year, just fresh and healthy to start the season with the Bolts, the ultimate safety blanket for Tampa Bay. He still gets the loudest applause, maybe outside of Nigel Kerwin, the video coach, on opening night, and the guy just celebrated playing in his 500th game. He's been in the top 10 all 7 years we've done this. There's only 2 people that have been in the top 10 all 7 years. He is one of them. Last year, number 7, so he drops 1 spot. You look back in 2022, he was at number 4. 2021, after a second straight cup, number 2, number 4 in 2020, and then number 8 and number 4 in 2019 and 2018. The guy that if you need one game to win in the National Hockey League, you could say right now, in your opinion, you think Connor Hellebuck is better. You may think Jake Ottinger is better. You may think Igor Shesterkin is better. If you think somebody else is better other than those 3 guys, I think you're freaking nuts. But with that being said, if you need one game to win tonight is a game 7, and your life depends on it. You need one person between the pipes that is playing today in the National Hockey League. I think to a man, the consensus would be the big cat, Andrevasileski. He's been there. His record in game 7 is exemplary. When you need a guy to make a big play or make a big stop, it's going to be Andrevasileski. And there's certain games, and I tweeted this out the other night when the Rangers beat the Dallas Stars. Going into Dallas, beating the Stars, I said Igor Shesterkin had a game where it's almost like an FU game, like I'm the best goalie in the world. Only a few guys can have those games. Andrevasileski is certainly one of them. He is a guy that when he's on and he's seeing the puck, it's all about vision with Andre. If he can see the puck, and you can tell with those big eyes, when he can see the puck and you can tell early that he's on his game, I don't know if they lose many games after that. He's just so locked in, and it doesn't matter what is going on around him. He's able to calm the outside noise. He's able to see through traffic. He's able to stay with the puck after a deflection. His work ethic is above reproach, and that's something that the Lightning kind of had to dial back a little bit. Like, dude, you're working too hard. You don't have to go to every morning skate. You don't have to practice every single day, between games. After games, he used to be like a maniac. One game they lost, and he made a bunch of saves, stood on his head, and he's out there throwing the ball against the wall. This was years ago. And it's just like, dude, you got to take it easy a little bit. Relax, buddy. And he's done that, and that's a big reason why he, for my money, still the best goalie in the world. Big shout out to my guy, James Donlin. Jay Recher, number 21. Top sports star of 2024. I will take it. Big Dummy Dan, I'll be shocked if 1, 2, and 3 aren't Kucherov, Irving, Evans, or Mayfield in some combination. That's 3, but you gave me 4 guys, Dan. That don't count. But, yeah, you're going to have to wait and see. All right, Jon Cooper coming in at number 9, Andrevasileski coming in at number 8. So, of course, to talk a little Lightning hockey, we're going to bring in our guy, Eric Erlinson, lightninginsider.com. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm good, bud. How was your trip? Everything good up there?
Oh, it's 25 degrees. So no, not everything is not great up here. Everything is not great. But thanks for asking. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you and the whole Erlinson family. Before we talk about what happened last night, I want to talk about the last 2 guys on the list, and thank you again for contributing. Jon Cooper coming in at number 9, Andrevasileski coming in at number 8. We'll start with Jon Cooper. He's been a guy that, it's just been really cool to see his growth and his development as a head coach. And, he's going to be a Hall of Famer one day. I don't know if we mentioned that enough, but he'll be a Hall of Famer one day, a guy that's been already at 4 cups, a little bit early probably in that year in 2015 when they lost to Chicago, but going to 3 straight finals and to winning those first 2. We'll look back very fondly on these days with Jon Cooper at the helm of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
He's going to go down as one of the most underrated coaches in league history.
Yeah.
Think about that. He's won 2 cups. He's taken his team to the cup final 4 times in, 11 years, 12 years. And he's never won a Jack Adams award. it's crazy to think about that fact right there, that he's never been voted as the coach of the year. Now, the whole way that the voting works, it's kind of turned into, well, who had the most unexpected success?
Yeah, it's the overachieving award kind of thing.
Yeah, and the year that they tied the record was 62 wins. If Barry Trotz doesn't turn the Islanders from the worst defensive team and the best defensive team in 1 year, maybe he wins it that year. But it's he's such a. You're right. I think you hit the nail on the head there where you talk about his evolution, because, when he came into the league, he was an unknown. He didn't know the league, and to see where he's at now and the way that he handles and deals with players and star players. There's been a lot of star players on this team, and that's not an easy thing to deal with. There's egos involved and everything else. And he's found ways to manage, all these players and mold them and give roles. I think that's the biggest thing with Jon Cooper through the years, is the way that he defines roles that need to be filled and finding the players that fit those roles. Right. And look, don't think for a minute he wasn't a big part of the reason why Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman were brought here prior to the 2020 playoffs, right? Because he felt that they just needed some of that just grit factor. And both those guys certainly provided it. And we know the importance of those two, along with Yanni Gord and that third line, that really helped them win a couple of titles. So he just has this knack for, I hate using the term pushing the right buttons, but just tapping into a player's strengths. And the one thing I will always fall back on, and people will criticize him for this, and a lot of people do criticize him for this, that he doesn't get emotional. You don't see too much emotion from him on the bench. He doesn't bench players. He doesn't get mad at players. And I think that's where today's coaches are different, right? There's no Mike Keenans out there who are just going to yell and scream. And I mean, you still have one a little bit in John Tortorella, who's still doing, who he is in Philadelphia. But he doesn't bury players for making mistakes, right? Mm-hmm. He is the consummate type of coach that wants to build players up rather than tearing them down to build them back up, right? He wants to give them this confidence in themselves, this belief in themselves. And, if they make a mistake, he's not going to plant them to the bench. Now, there are times, he's benched Nikita Kucherov, right? There was a game in Buffalo a couple years ago where he benched Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, and Steven Stamkos.
I just mentioned that before you came on. That's great. It was Buffalo. Okay, good.
Yeah. So, so he's had those moments where he's kind of had to play that card a little bit. But for the most part, again, I think back and I'll remember this forever in the 2020 playoffs when Blake Coleman made a mistake. He tried to blow the zone a little early, and it allowed the Islanders to tie the game. Rather than sitting him, he threw that line right back out there. And what did they do? They scored like 5 seconds later, right, to retake the lead, and it was Blake Coleman that scored the goal. So that's why it's such an underrated part of who he is as a coach, to have that belief and that trust and that build that confidence up in players. And look, there are people who will criticize him for it for sure, and he still gets that to this day. But I think the players will tell you otherwise, that he can be the hard ass when he needs to be, but he is more of the guy who's going to find ways to make you feel good about your game and get this belief in yourself. Because as crazy as it is, pro athletes need to feel confident. They're the greatest at what they do,
right?
But they need some confidence at times. And he just seems to know who needs it, the time they need it, when they need it, and how to do it. He really is a master at that.
Yeah, he definitely knows when a guy needs a pat in the back and when a guy needs a kick in the ass. We the Thunder, double E for number 2 behind Cooch on the list. All right, guys, I appreciate that. So Cooch comes in at number 9, coming in at number 8, Andrevasileski, and double E again. I said before, you need to win one game tonight. It's still the big cat, in my opinion. To be able to see him this year healthy, great to see him get recognized before the game the other night. We're just so lucky. There's teams that they're searched years, decades to get a number 1, and we've been able to have a nice little run here with a couple of guys, but none better than the big cat Andrevasileski.
Yeah. Even when he's not on the top of his game, he's still world class. It's, and that's kind of what last year was. We know coming off the back surgery and everything else, he had, a little bit of a roller coaster up and down. He wasn't who we're used to seeing on a consistent basis. And that's understandable in a lot of ways. I mean, he didn't get any rehab. He didn't get a training camp, and he just jumped right back into the action after Thanksgiving. And he was still put up good numbers. We're just not used to those are not Andrevasileski numbers. And, and this year I think you can see, he had the bad game against Toronto. Maybe the goal last night, the shorthanded goal, kind of caught him off guard a little bit. So there are certainly those moments that are going to happen for any goaltender. But you're right. When it's time to win a game that you have to have, he's the guy that you're going to tap on the shoulder. You look at the track record, and as much as Rangers fans want to chant Igor's better at MSG, until you get one of these on your finger, you're not better than Andrevasileski. And he's just a Hall of Famer. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer when he goes in. I wrote this earlier this year when he became the fastest to 300 wins, the fastest goaltender ever to 300 wins. And I know it's a little asterisk or skewed a little bit because of shootouts and everything, but sometimes trying to recognize greatness in the moment is like being in the forest looking for the tallest tree.
Right.
It's there, but you can't see it because of all the other greatness in the trees that you're around until maybe you have to take a step back and find the perspective to locate that tallest tree. And Andrevasileski is that tallest tree.
You got that right, buddy. Lightning unfortunately come up short yesterday against the Florida Panthers. They're back in action tonight. What did you take away from the game yesterday that gives you a hope that they're going to be able to turn around today? Is it more cause for concern? Do you think Vazzy goes again, or do you think they go with the backup tonight, Jojo?
I think it's Johansson. Because that's a big reason why he probably started the game in Seattle, because you need Johansson to kind of get some feel for the game right now, because the Lightning have 10 sets of back-to-backs all year, which is not a lot for them. But 6 of them are between right now and the third week of January. So basically you have 6 sets of back-to-backs coming in the next 5 weeks. So you're going to need Johansson for these situations. So I expect it'll be Johansson. And as far as what gives me some optimism for tonight is the Lightning's 5-on-5 play against the Panthers. Special teams let him down. They gave up the power play goal. It's a good tip by Reinhart. There really wasn't much that Vazzy could have done on that goal, but handling the pressure on the PK, they did not handle it very well. Kucherov kind of fumbled the puck, and then they didn't cover the rush chance against very well, and that ended up in the back of their net. And then, the last one, such an easy read. Give some credit to Eetu Luosterainen to jump that play and understand what was happening.
Right.
But the Lightning didn't handle that pressure very well there, even though they knew it, right? The Panthers came into the game last night with 8 shorthanded goals on the year. They come out with 10. But you look at their 5-on-5 play, especially in the first and third period, and, they admitted that those 2 shorthanded goals in the same power play stunned them a little bit, and they didn't recover the rest of the second period. But they had an opportunity to get back in that game. Nikita Kucherov had a great chance in the opening minute of the third period. Spencer Knight came up with a big save. Braden Point had the goal. They had a couple other looks after that. And this is the area that the Lightning really wanted to emphasize this year was their 5-on-5 play.
Right.
And you look at it, I believe, and I don't know the exact numbers, and I remember seeing them a couple weeks ago, but their 5-on-5 goal differential this year right now is probably somewhere around plus 22, 25, somewhere in that range. Whereas this time last year, they were, minus 17, minus 18. So that's a massive turnaround in their 5-on-5 play. And that's an area they want to improve, because their special teams will be there. Their power play has really kind of gotten it going, even though they didn't get one last night when they had an opportunity in the third period. Their PK, even, they gave one up last night, has been better of late. But it's the 5-on-5 play. If they can keep that where it's at, they're gonna be in games, right? They only gave up 3 goals last night, and that's the magic number, right? You give up more than 3, the game's in jeopardy. But you give up 3 or less, that's where they've been better, and that's where they're going to put themselves in position to be a playoff team this year, is with their 5-on-5 play. So if they can play that way going into tonight, and I know Florida has the matchup control and everything else, they are going to give themselves a chance to win on most nights, and that includes tonight.
You got that right, buddy. And if you want to hear the best Lightning talk, you want to watch the best Lightning coverage, check out my guy, Eric Erlinson. That's Eric_Erlinson on Twitter/X. That's a K, not a C. 2 S's after the D. LightningInsider.com. Sign up today. It's a great last-minute Christmas gift for you and yours. For the big Lightning fan out there, use that promo code JNZ to get $10 off, not just this year, but every recurring year as well. You're looking for that last gift, that last thing for that Lightning fan in your life. Go to lightninginsider.com today. Go check it out. And they'll definitely appreciate it because Double E is all over it. Appreciate you, brother. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to you and yours. And I'll see you when I get back.
Yes, sir. Thanks. Merry Christmas to you. Please tell your mom and dad I said hello, and everybody else up there. Merry Christmas, buddy. Safe travels back.
Will do. Thanks, pal. The one and only Eric Erlinson. Doesn't get better than that. These are the kind of guests we have on the program. I say it doesn't get better than that because it doesn't. It doesn't. These are the kind of people that we have on the program. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are always wondering, like, what can I get this person? What can I get that person? Bro, that's a great gift. LightningInsider.com. Double E is everywhere. Everywhere. Go check him out. Go check him out. Go get it today. Just trying to make sure that I have all the slides for the rest of this. Who do you think is going to be number one on the list? We've already had a couple of people chime in on the list. Who do you think will be number one here? I didn't want to put it in there. I almost put it up there by accident. Yeah, can't do that. All right, let's get back to the list. Coming in at number 7 on the list is Jason Licht, Buccaneer general manager. He is another guy. When you look at how he's made the list over the years and his perception from the people in the Tampa Bay area, the narrative changed a little bit on Jason Licht, hasn't it? You know, the jury seemed to be out on him, and then the Super Bowl definitely helped. Then last year was kind of like, it was weird. Like, people were still kind of out on him. Just listen to where he ranked. Last year, he wasn't ranked at all. He's 7 this year. In 2022, he wasn't ranked. In 2021, he was number 13. In 2020, an honorable mention. Then he wasn't ranked in 2019 and 2018. So I think there was still a lot of people that didn't know, like, of the job that Jason Licht has done. I did the research years ago, and I think there's certain players, there's certain coaches, certain front office members that I think you get it stuck in your head whether you like them or whether you don't. And I think Jason Licht was like that for a lot of people. But you cannot deny the job that this guy has done. I mean, look at the contributors from the rookie class this year. And you look at McMillan, you look at Bucky Irving, you look at Graham Barton. I mean, my goodness, right off the rip, these guys are contributing, right? You look at drafting Tristan Wort, drafting Antoine Winfield Jr. You look at all the different guys that he's been able to bring in via the draft and the contributions that they've made. Oh, yeah, drafted Mike Evans, drafted Chris Godwin. You got to tip your hat to Jason Licht. Number 7 on this list. Well deserved, and I'd be very surprised if he didn't make this list in a big way next year as well. You want to talk about a guy that has made a huge difference for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, and I know a lot of people were wondering, is he going to make the list? Is he one of the top 20 sports stars of Tampa Bay in 2024? Yes, he is. Coming in at number 6 on the list, rookie running back out of Oregon, Bucky Irving. Now, when you look at Bucky, it's not just something that shows up on the stat sheet. And yeah, you look at it, 920 yards on the ground. He's going to rush for 1,000 this year. 7 touchdowns on the ground, but he also has 41 catches and 320 yards in the passing game. But if you go to Raymond James Stadium and you see this guy breaking tackles, busting long runs, finding a way to get in the end zone, and then you just listen to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan base, when you listen to Bucs Nation, the crew, they're chanting, Bucky, Bucky, Bucky. There is an organic love for this young man. And I think he is on his way to being one of the more beloved players in Buccaneers history. Now, is he ever going to be like a Mike Allstott A-Train where people were going crazy? I don't know if anybody ever gets to that level. But it's kind of like in that ilk, on that path, where if he continues to play at a high level, fans are going to be yearning to chant Bucky, Bucky, Bucky. And if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a factor in this offense for a very long time. He's a great change of pace type of back. I love the combination, and I know what happened last night when Rachaad White played a ton at the end. We didn't see a bunch of from Bucky, but let's not forget some of the things that Bucky doesn't do as well as Rachaad White is, catching the ball out of the back. I think he does good. I think it's more of blitz pickup. And when you look at what the Dallas Cowboys do well, rushing the passer, I think Rachaad White last night helping out in that capacity was why he saw more time than Bucky Irving. It's a balancing act. And Liam Cohen said it the first week. It's tough to deal with that three-headed monster when you have Rachaad, when you have Bucky Irving, when you have Sean Tucker. But I thought it was very ironic to see that out of those three guys, Bucky Irving is the guy that made the list. And it's not that he just made the list. He came in at number 6. Bucky Irving over Jon Cooper, Bucky Irving over Andrevasileski. And you're talking about champions, right? And I know NFL's king. I understand that. But it's Bucky Irving, rookie running back out of Oregon. Nobody was going into this season when it came to the NFL pundits thinking that he was going to be as good as he is. So shout out to Bucky Irving, and hopefully he continues to do his thing for the Bucs. Shout out to you, Jeff Taylor. Happy holidays, Jay. Love the show. Make sure you share this on your social media platforms because this is a huge way that we're going to continue to grow this show. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. That helps as well. But tell a friend, tell a family member, tell a coworker, the Jay Recher podcast. And I'm going to give you the start date for the daily show that's coming up in 2025. We'll do that at the end of the program today. As important as Bucky Irving has been to this Buccaneers team, I said it before the season, and I'll say it again. The biggest acquisition made in the offseason for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was this guy, Liam Cohen. We wouldn't have seen the Bucky break out without Liam Cohen. Doesn't mean he wasn't going to be good, but I don't think we would have been this good if Liam wasn't here. An incredible addition who has fit in seamlessly with the Tampa Bay coaching staff. And not just because of the pre-snap motion, not just because of the improved blocking schemes, it's his personality. You could tell early on the affinity that Baker Mayfield has had for him, the way that he's just come in here and hit the ground running, and has been a huge part of the success of this Buccaneers rushing attack and this Buccaneer offense as a whole. You saw the stat last night on Sunday Night Football. 2022 season, the Buccaneers were last in rushing. 2023, they were last in rushing. Yesterday, second in the league. I love this guy. And you saw it right from training camp. I remember sitting there with Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report. Shout out our guys from Pewter Report. Go read them now, pewterreport.com. Not now, but after the show, pewterreport.com. And we're just watching the offense. They're just like, this looks different. And I know it's not the same because you're not going against a defense trying to tear your head off, and you're not going full bore because you're going against your team. They don't have pads on, but just look at the creativity and just look at the difference. Look at how the players are open. Look at how they're utilizing the players from out of the backfield. You could tell that something was going to be different with this offense. How much better? We had no clue. I don't know if anybody foresaw that it was going to be this good, but that is exactly what we're getting. Liam Cohen has made a huge difference with his Tampa Bay Buccaneers club. He's going to be a head coach in this league. Let's just hope it's not somewhere else and hope it's not anytime soon, because that is one of the more popular names that you're hearing in the National Football League. And young offensive coordinators are going to be that guy that's going to be on the tip of everybody's tongue. You've seen it in the last decade, whether it's a Shanahan or a McVay or a Taylor or looking at Shane Steichen or Ben Johnson is a name. Dave Canales last year. Liam Cohen is that guy. You're starting to hear those whispers become louder and louder, and let's just hope that it's not a one-year deal for Liam Cohen here in Tampa Bay. And our guy Big Dummy Dan says that pick is perfect. I couldn't agree with you more. Hammer, no Stu. He actually did make the list, Stu, at number 17, again, as more of an antagonist than a protagonist. And Buckin, shout out for you from the worst rushing attack in the league to top 3 in a year. You got that right, buddy. Tip your hat to that one. All right. Number 4 on this list is my favorite inclusion to this list. This is why I do it. To see what my fellow media members are thinking, who is a star to them. I can't tell you how much I respect the people that I work with. And people ask me all the time, what's the best part of your job? Is it the players? Is it the games? Is it the events? It truly is the people that I work with. Some of the most talented, down-to-earth, just salt-of-the-earth type people. Guys like Paul Kennedy. Guys like Rich Hollenberg. Guys like Bob Herrig. Guys like Eric Erlinson, Steve Carney. Guys like even Joe Urso, right? And I'm always curious because I make my list and I see what everybody else does. And I'm always curious to see who's going to be on the list that wasn't on the list last year. Who has made a profound impact on our members of the Tampa Bay media? I mean, it's easy to look at Victor Hedman and Andrevasileski and some of these other guys, right? Like the players that are the best of the best, like, yeah, they're going to make this list. But I always like to see the coaches. I like to see the front office members. I like to see whether a guy like Titus O'Neil or Rob Higgins, Tampa Bay Sports Commission. And shout out to Rob Higgins in his battle with cancer. We love you, Rob. Keep fighting, my friend. Those two guys, like best pals. You see them every year at the sneaker soiree. You always love to see those guys get votes and those guys get recognition. But there was one person on this list that I really was curious to see where he was going to rank. And he came in at number 4. And that is the late, great Amir Abdur-Rahim. I am so proud and so happy that not only is he on this list, but how high he is on this list. He came in at number 4. Number 4. Over Jon Cooper, over Kevin Cash, over Todd Bowles, over all of these other guys. Tristan Wort, Vasilevsky, Braden Point, Amir Abdur-Rahim, the head coach of our men's basketball team. And if you missed the chat with Michael Kelly, the vice president of athletics for USF, I implore you, out of all the chats that I've done on the Jay Recher podcast, that is easily one of my favorites. Please, when we're done here, go back to my channel and watch that chat that we had. And just listen to how Michael Kelly spoke about Amir Abdur-Rahim. He was given the Distinguished Citizen Award posthumously by President of USF Rhea Law. And today's actually her birthday, so happy birthday, Rhea Law. You know what it means to get an award like that when you're a coach that was here for 1 year? He was here for 1 year. That was one of the biggest takeaways that Michael Kelly and I had during our chat, is that the impact that he had, like you would think he was here 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. He was here for 1 year. I've been at the Yuengling Center where there was a couple of hundred people, maybe, watching those men's basketball games. There were thousands there last year. To be in the building against FAU for that game, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it right now. To see Amir Abdur-Rahim, who has had the student section named after him. You see tributes all across the country. For him to get number 4 on this list, kudos to all of my friends and my colleagues in the Tampa Bay area. You want to talk about media people that get it? Right here in Tampa, we do. I'm not even including myself. I'm including everybody. That's you guys. I miss him. I wish he was still here. Shout out to Ben Fletcher and everybody there with the USF program with the big win on Saturday. The video that was played on the day that they celebrated his life at the Yuengling Center used some of my words from our first show on Jay and Zach on DAE after he passed away. I got to say that's like one of the most things that I've ever been proud of, not even in my career, just in my entire life. I'm proud to be a Recher. Like, I think that's important to me, my family. I love them. That's the thing I'm most proud of. I'm also proud that I was a firefighter after 9/11. It was important for me to be able to volunteer for my local fire department. I was also very proud to be able to work with the storm coverage team over at iHeart. I just thought doing things for other people, especially people in need, is something that it means a lot to me. And then being in this video, that's right up there with me. The fact that my words meant so much to a university that they included me in a video to celebrate his life. I mean, you want to talk about being humbled. Amazing. Amazing. Coach, we miss you. We love you. And your impact will be felt for many, many years, long after you're gone. But again, shout out to my members of the Tampa Bay media that voted him this high. Number four. 1 year here. What an incredible impact. All right, let's go to number 3. For number 3, did we get to who missed? No, let's get to who's missing before we get to number 3. Who is missing from the list this year? Number 4 last year did make the list this year because he got traded. Randy Arozarena. Think about, we have 2 guys in the top 10 that didn't make the list this year, Randy being one of them. The dramatic trade to the Seattle Mariners, him being in the stands with his family the next day, Randy lands. It sucks that he's not here. It's the brutal business aspect of the game. I'm not thrilled that it happened. I don't know how much better they got with him not being here. I just know that games for the Tampa Bay Rays are not as entertaining to go to because he is no longer with the Tampa Bay Rays. So that sucks. Antoine Winfield Jr., last year, number 6. I mean, an all-pro year. This year, just whether it's a couple injuries, just not playing his best. That's why he's come off the list. So no Antoine Winfield Jr. Alex Golish, number 13 last year, didn't make the list this year. USF football probably to many people took a little bit of a step back this year. So Alex Golish does not make the list. Neither does Byron Brown. He was number 15 last year. They really took the Tampa Bay area by storm. So no Golish, no Byron Brown. We'll see if they make the list next year. Rondé Barber made it last year. He was at number 14. He was just inducted to the Hall of Fame, so he was kind of on the top of everybody's mind. We love you, Rondé, and of course does great stuff with the Bucs in our community, especially with our friends over at the Copperheads and the Valspar. Can't wait for that in March as well. And then the last guy that was on the list last year that didn't make it this year, Zach Eflin, Rays right-hander who got traded to the Baltimore Orioles within the division. Then he had something snarky to say about Tropicana Field. So it's safe to say Zach Eflin will probably never make this list again. Everybody was excited. He is a guy that, Orlando kid, in that area. So excited. Now he's gone. Good riddance. All right. Bum, bum, bum. Are you ready for the top 3 people on this list, the top 20 sports stars of Tampa Bay in 2024? I'll give you 20 seconds. Put them there at the bottom. Who do you think is 1, 2, and 3 on this list? The top 20 sports stars of Tampa Bay in 2024. 1, 2, and 3. Who is it? Hurry up, quick! Get your guesses in. Let's see if you are right. And then also, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at JRecher, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Every follow, every share, every subscription certainly does help. All right. Coming in at number 3 on this list. Last year, he was number 2. Nikita Kucherov. Another guy who has made the top 10 in all 7 years of doing this. He, alongside of Andrevasileski, the 2 guys that have been in the top 10 in all 7 years. The incomparable Nikita Kucherov. He should have won the MVP last season, but for some stupid ass reason, it was Nathan McKinnon's turn, whatever crap excuse that was. Going to Toronto last year for the All-Star game, talking to Nathan McKinnon himself, talking to Matt Barzell, they're in awe of Nikita Kucherov. They just are. They're in awe of him. Same thing when you hear Pointer or Ryan McDonough like talk about him as well. Other guys, and I mentioned this about Braden Point earlier. Some guys, you speed up the game as they're skating. Their speed is such a huge part of their game. It's the opposite. It's the opposite with Nikita Kucherov. It's almost like he slows the game down and he makes you play it as his speed. It's amazing. Number one, Bush. Yes, I agree with that. Always underrated. He's one of one. He really is. I wonder if he'd be higher on this list if he was more engaging with the media. I don't know if I don't know if it matters. I honestly don't think it. I think his play does the talking, right? I don't sit there and have multiple conversations with him. Double E doesn't either, but he does his talking on the ice. And when you look at where he ranks on this list every single year, again, he was number 2 last year. In 2022, he was number 6. He was number 5 in 2021. Back in 2020, he was number 8. He was number 1 on this list in 2019. And in our first ever list in 2018, he came in at number 5. So 7 years, 7 top 8 finishes for Nikita Kucherov. It just does not get much better than that. All right. Number 2. Who do you think it is? Number 2. Mike Evans. Another guy that really needs no introduction. One of the greatest players to ever wear a uniform in the Tampa Bay area. Yes, a fantastic wide receiver, but an even better human being. The Walter Payton Man of the Year award nominee for the Bucs, one of the highest honors in all of sports. Just look at how bad everybody wants him to get 1,000 yards for the 11th straight year. It's not just of what he can do on the field, it's just the kind of person that he is off it. Imagine that, 11 straight years. God, I hope he gets it. Oh, man, if anything, the last 2 games, please get Mike Evans 1,000 receiving yards. He's the standard, a true pros pro. He is the guy that makes you happy and proud to be a fan of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You have to love Mike Evans. All right. Finally, the last person on our list coming in at number 1. Oh, hold on real quick. Let me give you the Evans rankings the last couple of years. He was number 1 last year, number 2 this year. He was number 7 in 2022 and 2021, number 12 back in 2020, 2019 as high as number 3, and then 2018 number 11. All right. We polled over 30 media members in the Tampa Bay area. You've heard 2 through 20, the honorable mentions, the who missed the list. This gentleman has come in at number 1. He's taken the Tampa Bay area by storm. Baker Mayfield. I know he's a former number 1 overall pick, but he plays like a guy who was drafted at the end of the 5th round. He may make his mistakes, but my God, this guy leaves it all on the field for the Buccaneers. And he doesn't give in at all. And you can tell by the way he treats his offensive line, he truly enjoys just kind of being one of the guys. And how about immersing himself in the Tampa Bay area? He goes to Lightning games. He goes to Rays games. He was at the first ever Sun game. He's everywhere, and his foundation has planted roots here. Now he's raising his family in the 813. What a journey for Baker. I am so glad it has led him here to our community. Last year, ranking at number 12. This year at number 1. And to talk some Baker Mayfield is the one and only Ronnie Night Train. Look at you, man. Looking festive, my brother. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Thank you so much for joining us. How are things?
Things are great, man. Feliz Navidad. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa to you as well, man.
I appreciate you, my friend. I appreciate you always chiming in and contributing to the list as well. Baker Mayfield comes in at number 1, Ronnie, over Mike Evans, over Nikita Kucherov, the late great Amir Abdur-Rahim, all the coaches and the front office members, over 30 Tampa Bay media, sports media, and he comes in at number 1. I mean, what does that tell you about his impact here locally?
Well, Jay, it tells me he's earned that, and he certainly has. If you look at his numbers, he's having a career year now, 34 touchdown passes. Last night was a tough game for not only Baker, but for the entire Buccaneer franchise, because now, they entered that game with an 86% chance to make the playoffs. That is down to 50-50 between Tampa Bay and Atlanta, and I think we all know the deal here. Atlanta has to lose one of its remaining 2 games, and the Bucs have to win their 2. There's no path via the wild card, in my mind, for the Buccaneers to make it, or the Falcons. You have to win this division to get into the playoffs.
You, of course, can hear Ronnie Night Train Lane for the Buccaneers broadcast 98 Rock, of course, on WDAE as well, doing some Rays stuff, doing some other things as well. What is it about the attitude of Baker Mayfield that endears him to people in the Bay Area? Because he is a guy that's just he's fun. Sometimes you may not know what the hell you're going to get, Ronnie, but man, it is never a dull moment with him on the field.
I think it's his grit. I think it's his moxie. I think it's his want-to, his competitive spirit. You see it all the time. You saw it yesterday. It was a bit helter-skelter yesterday because the protection was not at what it was against the LA Chargers. I don't understand how the Bucs could look so good against the Chargers and so disjointed or out of sync against the Dallas Cowboys, a team that's banged up, not as good as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yet. It looked like to me, and you tell me what you saw, it looked like to me that the Cowboys were the more desperate team, even though they knew before they took the field that they had been eliminated from the playoff picture. They were more desperate, had more want to than Tampa Bay. That's the only way I can explain that.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you have a team that's got nothing to lose, they just said F it it was balls to the wall for Dallas. And I think before the Buccaneers could really kind of catch up to the speed that they needed to play, they were just playing from behind all night. And you look at what I saw early in the game, there was a lot of short passes for Cooper Rush. They got the ball out of his hand quickly. They got him into a flow. And then when the Buccaneers defense pressed up, then he threw a couple balls over the top. And for the most part, either hit most of them or they were able to draw some flags. So whatever the game plan was for the Cowboys, I thought was masterful. It sucks giving them credit, but hey, you got to call a spade a spade. I thought they played really well last night. As much as we want to look at the Buccaneers side, I actually thought Dallas played pretty well as well. Mike Evans came. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, buddy.
For franchises in disarray, they looked really good. They were very physical last night. They just outplayed. They just flat out played the Buccaneers last night. And I was really surprised by that because the Bucs had all of this on the line. They were controlling their own destiny. Now they've lost control of that simply because they did not play well. They didn't tackle well last night. They gave up so many chunk plays on defense. It was frustrating to watch. It really was.
It certainly was. And one thing that we're going to all be frustrated about is if Mike Evans doesn't reach 1,000 yards for the 11th straight season. He got a chunk last night, still needs 2 strong performances down the stretch here against the Panthers and the Saints. He comes in at number 2 on this list after being number 1 last year. And Ronnie, you know as well as anybody, it's not just because Mike Evans is a fantastic player on the field. It's the kind of man he is off of it.
Yeah, he's a great community guy. We're blessed to have him in this community. He's been that way his entire career here at Tampa Bay. I remember working with him when he was a rookie. He's just an outstanding human being, a great family man, a great credit to this community. And we're very blessed and fortunate to have him here. I do hope he is able to get that quest and get another 1,000-yard receiving season. The Cowboys, you got to give them credit. They put that safety up high, and they were flanking him with safety all night long. They must have said, this guy, 13, is not going to beat us because it looked like that was what they were trying to do last night. And they were successful. Their secondary played extremely well last night. The Buccaneers, on the other hand, not so much in the secondary. They just gave up too many chunk plays in the middle of the field.
Yeah, and when you have an automatic field goal kicker like Brandon Aubrey, that bend but don't break defense that Todd Bowles loves to deploy, didn't really play into their hands last night. But before I get you out of here, I want to ask you about one guy. You had him number 3 on your list, Bucky Irving, and he's going to probably get 1,000 yards on the ground this year. I think people were optimistic that he was going to contribute this year. I don't know if anybody, himself included, thought he was going to make this big of an impact, but you hear it at these games, Ronnie. Fans want to chant Bucky, Bucky. They're clamoring for more number 7 out there on the field. What have you seen from him this year? How does, he play so well? How does he come in? He came in at number 6 this year on this list, which I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's a true talent. He was good at Oregon, but I did not expect his game to translate like it has in the National Football League. But we saw that in the preseason. We saw that at training camp. So we knew that he was going to be special. I didn't know he was going to be this special. He truly is. I think his ability to accelerate at such a rapid pace, like when he hits a hole, he's already, he reaches that top speed of his so fast, and he hits the hole so fast that, you know, the defense can't react. He's running by you by the time you react. And, you know, that's an untrained thing. He finds the hole. He doesn't always go in the hole that he's supposed to go in.
Mm-hmm.
He finds the hole because of his quickness and his ability to accelerate to his top speed so quickly.
He's the man, and I'm so glad he's a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if they're going to find a way to make the playoffs and win these last two games, of course, they need help, but they need a lot more from guys like Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, and Baker Mayfield. The one and only Ronnie Night Train Lane, you are the best. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa. I like putting them together. Make sure everybody gets some love. Give my love to your better half and the entire family, and I'll see you when I get back up there in 2025, my friend. Happy New Year.
All right, Jay, same to you, my man, and your family.
Thank you, buddy. The one and only Ronnie Night Train Lane. So that's the list. I know you guys probably want to hear my list. Okay, so the top 20, Baker, Mike Evans, Kucherov, 1, 2, 3, Amir Abdur-Rahim, 4, Liam Cohen, 5, Bucky Irving, Jason Light, Andrevasileski, Jon Cooper, and Tristan Wort rounds out the top 10. Braden Point, Lavonte David, and Victor Hedman, 11, 12, and 13. 14 through 16, a couple of coaches, Joe Urso, Kevin Cash, and Todd Bowles. And then the front office guys ended off Stu Sternberg at 17, Jeffrey Vinnick at 18, Julian Brisebois at 19, and Eric Neander at number 20. All right, my list. How does it stack up to everybody else? Let me read it for you here. I had Baker Mayfield at number 1, Mike Evans at number 2. That's not bad. I had Amir Abdur-Rahim 3 and Nikita Kucherov 4. Jon Cooper at 5, Joe Urso 6, Hedman at 7, Vazzy at 8, Bucky Irving at 9, and Jason Light at number 10. What do you think of the list? What do you think about who came in at number 1? Feel free to hit me up on social media at JRecher. Feel free to comment here on the video as well. All right. Before I get out of here, I want to talk about some of the things that happened over the weekend. First off, shout out to Coach Jose Fernandez and the USF Bulls. I was watching this game on Saturday as we were going to the mall, getting some Christmas gifts. The USF women upset the number 9 team in the country, the Duke Blue Devils, at the Yuengling Center. They were ready to go from the jump. I don't know if I've seen a team more prepared to play to start a game this entire year than what I saw from Coach Jose Fernandez and the Bulls. Sammy, Mama, the entire group over there. Lore, oh man, you want to talk about landing a blow to start the game. It was just a boom, 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 2-piece, 3-piece. Duke made a valiant effort to try to come back. Coach Kara Lawson, she's been, one of the best players that I've seen in my lifetime, now at the helm there for a while. That's a huge win. That is a huge win. And Joey Johnston, my pal, who does a lot of work with USF over there, he and I were on the phone last week talking about the lack of a signature win for whether it was football or men's basketball or women's basketball. And not even a week later, there we go. A huge win for the USF Bulls. Number 9, over the number 9 Duke Blue Devils. Shout out to Coach Jose and the crew. That was the type of win that you need to kind of spur you on as we get closer and closer to conference play. Mention happy birthday to Rhea Law, the president of USF. Also, happy birthday to Leo Fernandez. Leo Fernandez, the Tampa Bay Rowdies legend, is going to come back next year alongside Forrest Lasso and Lewis Hilton. Cannot wait for Rowdies soccer next year. For more information, go to rowdysoccer.com. Now, I want to finish talking about the best thing I saw over the weekend and the worst. The best thing I saw over the weekend was at the PNC Championship, where Tiger and Charlie Woods came up a little short to Bernard Langer and his son Jason. But to see all of these golfers playing with their sons, their daughters, their dads. You're seeing Nelly Korda out there. You see Annika Sorenstam out there. You see John Daly out there. You see Matt Kuchar out there. It's one of the best things in sports every single year. And to be able to see Tiger Woods, the greatest golfer of our lifetime, play with his son Charlie over these years, it has been so great to see him grow before our eyes. And then you see this 15-year-old kid in Orlando on the par 3 pick up his first ever hole-in-one. Think about that. You're playing with your dad, one of the greatest ever. You're playing in front of thousands of people and millions of people at home. And you're able to make a hole-in-one. And it's on TV. It's recorded. Like, it was such a great moment. And to see Tiger's expression, and we've seen a lot of happy Tiger over the years. We've seen a lot of unhappy Tiger over the years. But to be able to see him have that joy, there was nothing like that. He's made some incredible putts. He's won a bunch of green jackets and a bunch of majors. But the look on Tiger's face when Charlie made that hole-in-one, it's priceless. There is no kind of proud like that type of proud. Now, I am very fortunate to have 2 young girls in my life, Stephanie's daughters, and when they do things, man, I'm beaming, right? I was able to coach for a while, youth, and when I saw them do well after putting in hours and hours and hours of work, I was so proud. But I can't imagine what that was like. I mean, God, it was so cool to see. And also, after the round was over, to see Tiger and his ex-wife, Elin Nordgren, embrace, it was like another, I mentioned dose of reality before. There's another one here. Because we know that in this world, there are a lot of marriages that don't work, right? And there's a lot of divorce that happens. And those numbers grow, it seems like, every year. But co-parenting is such a huge part of shaping the future of the children in this country. And it may not be all great, and we honestly don't know what happens behind closed doors. But that moment that they could share right there when the downturn of their marriage was very public, we know that. We're not going to get into that. But to be able to see them come together to celebrate this moment, it wasn't about them. It was about their kid. It was about what Charlie was able to experience as a youngster, growing up playing the game that bonds him and his father. And for him to be able to achieve something like that, something that guys play their whole life and never are able to do, he did that at 15. Not only was his mom there, but his sister was on the bag for his dad, or their dad. Really great moment. Really great moment. My favorite moment of the weekend. Because you look at what golf does, right? Golf is one of those things that connects people, whether it's right or wrong. Business meetings, me and my dad, every single time I come home, we find a way for me to play some golf. I don't play a ton of golf in Florida. Because it's freaking hot as hell half the time. But it's something that I do with my family. I do with my brother and my dad and my brother-in-law. It's something that we do to get together. It's something that me and my friends, we don't get a chance to see each other, and we all have a lot of things going on. If I'm in town for a week or so, we get together and we go play golf. We're not like the greatest golfers in the world, but it's a way to bring people together, go out there, get some fresh air, get away from the phones, get away from the laptops, get away from all this crap. Just get out there and enjoy life and enjoy nature and to do something semi-athletic as well. So I love watching the competition with my family every year. It's almost been a rite of passage. And I feel like it's gotten bigger and bigger. And I know a lot of that has to do with Tiger and Charlie, but it's great to see Vijay Singh out there with his son. It's great to see Bernard Langer out there with his son. Great to see Annika Sorenstam out there with their son. Really, really great stuff. To me, bar none, the best thing I saw all weekend. The worst thing I saw. Anybody guess what it is? Somebody tell me. You're watching. As I take another cough drop. What was the worst thing in sports that you saw all weekend? Leave your comments below, whether it's on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. I'm very curious if your answer matches up with mine. What was the worst thing you saw in sports all weekend? You got 5 seconds. All right. 3, 2, 1. No doubt in my mind, the worst thing I saw in sports all weekend was whatever the hell that was with the college football playoff. Absolutely terrible. Everything. Whether it was the games, whether it was the commentating, whether it was the... Let me not say the commentating. The games were not great. The commentary after the games was even worse. Everybody's saying that these teams don't belong there because they lost. What did you think was going to happen? One team was going to win, one team was going to lose. But the competition was terrible. It was terrible. Everybody was bagging on Indiana after they lost that game. That was the closest margin of victory the entire weekend. They lose 27-17. SMU gets blown out by Penn State. Tennessee gets routed by Ohio State. Clemson gets beaten by Texas. And now we have guys like Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler taking shots at guys on their own network, talking smack about guys on First Take. You could be a First Take fan or not. Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp and the crew over there may not be your cup of tea. That's fine. But if you're going to sit here and you're going to take shots at guys that are on your own network, come on, man. If you're going to sit there and you're just going to openly bash these college football teams when we're trying to grow the sport and we're trying to get more people involved, it was such a turnoff. Such a huge turnoff. I could not stand these games. It's going to affect it. It's going to affect how it's going to play out the next couple of years. But I thought that over the weekend, that was the worst possible scenario for the college football playoff. Unless you were a fan of those teams, you turned those games off quicker than a teenager watching the Scrambled channel when his mom storms into his room. I couldn't turn those games off fast enough. And then to see after the games how everybody was hating on the teams that lost. You have high-profile names like Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler just bashing dudes on their own network and saying these flagrant things about how these certain teams don't belong. How the hell do you know unless you play the game? What a huge turnoff. Huge turnoff. I wanted to see competitive games. I think everybody did. But the only impact that the college football playoff left on anybody over the weekend was a negative one. But can you honestly tell me that the games are going to get better? You're seeing all these different guys transfer. You don't even know who's going to be on the teams. I mean, college basketball is taking a hit because of the one and done. This, in my opinion, is going to have a similar impact for college football. You know, this guy's going to transfer. You don't know where this guy's going to go. These kids have these demands. Like the NIL, the transfer portal, and now the college football playoff, it's ruining college football. Now, is there still going to be billions of dollars put into it? Yes. Is it still going to have pretty good TV ratings? Yes. But there's going to be a lot of casuals, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to tune out if their teams aren't in it. And of course, I'll keep an eye on it because that's what I'm obviously going to talk about it on the podcast here. But wow, it was just very off-putting. Dan, were you actually expecting it to end differently? There's levels to college football. I'm not bashing, but not everyone can be the top dogs. Recruiting is a thing. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I hear you, Dan. But when you look at these games, right? You're talking about Tennessee and Ohio State. You're not talking about Ohio State and a team that's, you know, from some other conference that you never heard of. You're talking about top-tier recruits. Nico Iamaleava, like this is a good quarterback. Right? I understand why people can look at SMU and say, all right, well, we know why they got in. This is a team that hasn't been in the ACC all that long. Right? All right, I get that. But when you're telling me that Ohio State is able to beat Tennessee by 25. Texas is able to beat Clemson by a couple of scores. And now the Indiana margin doesn't look all that bad. Right? Indiana going into this game, and if you listen to the interview that I had with Ian Beckles last week, of Indiana grad, this was the worst matchup for Indiana. This is a team that prides themselves on the trenches. Prides themselves on it. Well, they're not as good as Notre Dame is. Indiana probably would have been suited to play maybe more of an up-tempo team, maybe one of these SEC teams. That was a bad matchup for them. That's going to happen in sports. It doesn't mean they're frauds. It doesn't mean that Indiana didn't belong there. And the fact that that's the narrative, and the fact that there's people that are some of the biggest voices that are actually saying that, does huge harm to the product. And it's off-putting. And if I have a choice of what I'm going to do with my time, it's not going to be watching that, and it's not going to be watching the post-game shows or any. Hell no, not a freaking chance. No, sir. No, thank you. Not having it. Shout out to USF, Hawaii Bowl tomorrow night against San Jose State. You're going to be able to watch, I believe, on ESPN. Shout out to Jim Lauk and BJ Daniels and Michael Kelly and everybody involved. Hopefully we see Byron Brown out there. Very excited to see, what the Bulls can do against San Jose State. If you missed anything today, make sure you go back to my YouTube channel at JRetcher10. That's going to do it for me for this entire year. I want to thank everybody that has supported me throughout this, transition, leaving DAE and iHeart, coming and doing the J Recher podcast. Shout out to my guy, James Donlin, who's helped out so many different ways with all the different graphics and everything. He's going to continue to help me out as we move forward in 2025. The J Recher podcast is going to start as a daily program on January 6th. So mark it on your calendars right now, January 6th. I'll do it right now. Boom, boom, boom. January 6th. No, not that January 6th. Yes, that January 6th. Will we make some jokes about January 6th on that day? Probably. Monday, January 6th at noon. That is when the J Recher podcast becomes a daily podcast. You're going to be able to hear it every single day at noon right here on my YouTube channel. It's going to be streamed to Facebook, to YouTube, to Twitter. If you're interested in advertising with and being a partner on the J Recher podcast, feel free to hit me up at J Recher on all of my social media platforms. We already have a couple of people that we're in discussion with to be able to be title sponsors, to sponsor certain segments. If you want to be able to be a sponsor for Recher's Rapid Reaction when I go to the games or do some of the other videos that I do, if you want to be affiliated and partnering with some of the clips that we put out after the shows, this is what you want to do. You want to be with the J Recher podcast. So feel free, again, DM me on all of my social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, YouTube. Hit me up and let's do this thing together and let's continue to grow here in 2025. I want to say a big thank you to Joe Urso, to Steve Carney, to Eric Erlinson, to Ronnie Lane, and to you out there chiming in on the program today. It's been a lot of fun. We'll do the list again next year in 2025. Baker Mayfield comes in at number 1. Big thanks to my guys on We the Thunder and Big Dan. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa, happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. I want to show you guys some love and say thank you for all the support over the years. 2024 was great. 2025 is going to be even better. Again, Merry Christmas. Appreciate you all. We'll see you next time right here on the J Recher podcast. Peace out.